We met in 2022 and got married in May of this year. We're both excited to have kids, although she would get started right now if I agreed. I want to wait a bit more to build up our savings, potentially get into a house, and to also make sure we're ready to be parents. I'll expand on this later. I love her to death, but she's never been the most long-term thinking person. As I understand it, this is in part due to her attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This means she's not a saver nor a planner, unless it's planning something exciting. For example, getting baby clothes is exciting. Saving more money so we can afford having babies is not. We're saving, but it will take a minute to reach the goal I've defined for us, at least 6 months of expenses, preferably with a buffer for the first year's child expenses. In the meantime, I also want to make sure we develop the habits we need to be good parents and to be healthy, physically and mentally. To me, this means developing exercise habits, healthy eating, and for me personally, reading books about parenting. She's a nanny and has always loved working with kids, so she's miles ahead of me in that area. Note, the entire issue here isn't just about exercise, but it's usually the topic that shows what she's struggling with and the underlying dynamic, and I think it will help illustrate that here. It's also a very tangible form of self-care, and in my experience, it's a great gateway to more self-care habits. At times, she's able to acknowledge that taking care of our bodies is important, and we both want to be able to be physically active with our kids and also be healthy for as long as we can. So we're around for them as well as for each other. I'm 6 feet 1 inch tall and weigh 207 pounds. She's 5 feet 4 inches tall and a good bit heavier than I am. But otherwise, she kind of just ignores this whole subject and sometimes shuts down when I try to talk to her about it. I invite her to the gym. I offer to go on walks with her, do quick 10-minute at-home workouts, anything to get the ball rolling, because I know how hard that first step is. I wanted to exercise for years before I finally went when a friend pestered me to do so. Every once in a while, she opens up about how hard it is for her to do these things. I understand that because I also struggle with it as well. Although I've spent more time learning to develop tools and systems to do better, which is another reason why I want to work on this with her. It would definitely be easier for me to be more consistent if my partner did it with me or had aligned goals. She's also really worried about not being able to get pregnant, so making sure we're healthy in the meantime is a fantastic idea. So when the time comes, we can make it happen as soon as possible. We had a really long and vulnerable conversation last night about all of this again. She once again opened up about how hard it is to do anything like this, and how when I even invite her to go to the gym, it makes her feel resistant to the idea, and, in her words, makes her feel like she's backed into a corner. This is upsetting to hear, because I try to either do it in a nonchalant manner, so there's less pressure on her. For example, I'm going to the gym if you want to come along. Or very lovingly, I'm going to the gym, but I really want to stay here with you. I'd love if you came along, and we could spend that time together if you want to. I love you and I love being with you, and I want to work on being healthier together and for our future kids. She also explained how oftentimes simply talking about something gives her dopamine, so she then feels less inclined to follow through. But this is a catch-22, because if we don't talk about it, she still doesn't do the thing because she can just shove it down and avoid thinking about it. Again, her words. She talked about how she feels like she's always messing things up and has so many issues, but what's funny is no one who knows her would ever describe her like that. She's such a kind and caring person and always has great advice to give, and honestly plays therapist for everyone. She even said last night, "I do so much better if I imagine I'm outside of myself, giving advice to someone else." But that's kind of the challenge. She prioritizes everyone else and takes really good care of everyone except for herself. She always comes last on the totem pole. It's not even that she comes last, it's more that she ignores her own needs entirely. This is really clear in how she navigates her therapy sessions. She always talks about this or that family member or struggle with some other person. It's never about what she's dealing with internally. I've gently encouraged her in the past to make sure she talks about herself in an upcoming session. But when she tells me how the session went, she'll say, "Yeah, we didn't really have time to talk about me. We spent the whole time talking about what's going on with X." I could keep rambling about this, but I'll try to make bullet points to sum everything up. My wife and I are excited to have kids, but I want to spend more time working on ourselves, developing healthy habits, both mentally and physically, and working towards goals together. The physical aspect is especially important as my wife is worried about not being able to get pregnant. My wife is obese, so I'm worried about her staying healthy during pregnancy and as we age. I know if obesity is involved, then the best thing to do is focus on diet and losing weight and not exercise. But in past conversations, she said she wants to focus more on healthy habits rather than a number on the scale. And while I disagree with that approach, I do my best to support her regardless. My wife neglects herself while prioritizing everyone around her. She has attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So naturally, a top piece of advice here is get the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder treated. But she is diagnosed and prescribed medication, but hasn't gotten her medication refilled. She doesn't make any effort to find healthy coping mechanisms, tools, or systems to manage her attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or other issues. I've suggested even just browsing the attention deficit hyperactivity disorder subreddit. There's a lot of great advice there, and it would be helpful to hear that her experiences are common and that people are able to get better. I can't really say, I understand issue X. I've experienced it to a degree, because that feels like, well, we're all a little attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, haha. Another top piece of advice would be therapy, but she goes to therapy and they always run out of time before she can talk about herself and her internal struggles. She spent so much of her life not being in good relationships due to her parents' issues growing up and then being in a hurtful relationship, that now that she's safe and secure, she's still not sure how to take better care of herself. She feels really stuck, and I can't help her because she needs to be able to help herself. I want to help her, and I have a huge inclination to solve problems for or with her. But I've tried in the past, and it doesn't do anything because it has to come from her. I can throw all the cliches that are grounded in truth at her. I can tell her what I've done to work through similar issues, but none of it matters if she's unwilling to take the first step. As a result, I feel stuck as her partner. How do I support her from here on out? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Women are often raised to take care of others to the point of neglecting themselves. If our parents do not teach us how to take care of ourselves, then how would we know? If instead, she was used as a babysitter for her siblings, or even as an extra adult for her parents by taking on household responsibilities early, or being forced to take part in conversations that a child shouldn't, it can take a long time to learn how to prioritize ourselves. I'll be honest, I'm still not great at it. I think I only truly got better when I separated myself from certain family members. But also, my husband has been a huge help, often by doing small things. Yes, we could help this way, but it would take this thing away from you, and I'd rather see it go to you. And yes, at first, I chose someone else, but with his reassurance over and over again that he wanted to put me first, I started to as well. I wish I had better advice, but maybe you could ask for a therapy appointment with her therapist together. Tell her you want to talk to her therapist together, so maybe the therapist can help you learn how to help your wife better. Now, as far as the ADHD and working out, there is nothing I hate more than going to a gym. I can't do it. It's boring and feels like slow, tedious torture. Our brains can't be engaged this way, and it's awful to try to keep any kind of focus. But what does work is any kind of game, like dance games, Beat Saber, and this boxing to the beat game that you can get on Amazon. I need to have my mind and body engaged. I like hiking, but my husband likes to challenge himself and do a 5-mile hike with a heavy backpack. I'll go into the woods and look for shiny rocks, and before I know it, I'm 8 miles in and have a pile of shiny things to take home. She will need her mind and body to be engaged at the same time in an interesting activity. Comment 2. I don't know, but I'm struggling with something similar with my partner. It's like they can't see the forest for the trees, and it's hard to see all the potential, but they just can't quite unlock it. I get that the more you push, the more they refuse it, but also, if I don't remind them at all, it will be 100% forgotten about. So it's up to me to find the perfect balance, but they can't see at all how it's hard on our marriage. I will say the gym sucks, and the only advice I can give is to try to find a hobby that she loves and that is active. So while she's doing the hobby, she is getting exercise, which is good for her mentally. But she's not thinking about the exercise part or the health part. I will say too, I think at the end of the day, she's giving you excuses. They may be valid excuses, and she may not even realize she's doing it, but it is what it is. It's easier for her to keep doing what she is doing than to actually change the habit, and she's doing it under the guise of helping others. Now, for the update. I'm so tired. Sorry if this post is all over the place, but I just need to get it out. A few days after the last post, my wife Olivia and I went to my parents' place for my dad's birthday. Everything was going smoothly, like usual family gatherings with a ton of laughter and too much catered food. Olivia seemed a bit off, though. She kept checking her phone, and I could tell something was bothering her. Then, my younger sister Kate shared how she got engaged recently, and everyone was excited about the wedding plans. My parents were super happy about it. Like, they just couldn't get enough of the grandkids talk. I mean, come on, Mom and Dad, can you chill for a second? They were literally hinting about wanting more grandkids from me and Olivia, like it was the hottest gossip in town. I know they want us to have kids, but can you blame me for wanting to save a bit before diving into parenthood? During dinner, Olivia got a text, excused herself to the bathroom, and left me sitting there confused. I tried making small talk with my brother Jake about work, but then he casually dropped that he and Rachel were looking for family-friendly neighborhoods. It was like a direct hit to my gut, honestly. I mean, can't we talk about something else for once? I tried steering the convo towards fitness to get Olivia interested, but Jake completely ignored me. Then, when Olivia came back, she was acting super weird, not making eye contact and picking at her food like it was the enemy. After we ate, she got another text and just walked outside to take the call. I was feeling uneasy about it all, so I followed her out. I heard her voice raised in frustration, but couldn't catch much. I stood by the door, trying to hear something, anything, to figure out what was going on. She hung up and turned around, and I was just standing there, waiting. Her expression was totally unreadable. We went back inside, and I swear the atmosphere was different. You could feel the tension. After dessert, our uncle asked when we were starting our family, and Olivia just went silent. I tried making a joke about needing more time to save money, but she shot me a glare so cold I thought I'd freeze. Out of nowhere, she announced she was feeling unwell and needed to go home. Everyone was caught off guard, and I tried insisting on taking her home, but she refused to let me drive. She said she wanted to leave immediately. I didn't know what else to do, so I let her go. On the drive home, she didn't say a word. It was dead silent. We parked in our driveway, and before I could say anything, she rushed inside and locked herself in the bedroom. I waited for a while, then knocked on the door, asking if she was okay. She finally opened the door, and I swear I saw anger flash in her eyes. She accused me of not understanding her needs. That's when she dropped the news. She had been in touch with a therapist who advised her to focus on her goals, which I was apparently hindering. She said she had been struggling to achieve her goals because I didn't support her, and honestly, I didn't even know where to start with that. I brought up her ADHD medication, but she interrupted me, saying she was tired of being told what to do. She left the room, and I just followed her into the kitchen. I don't even know why I did it. We started arguing about our priorities. She accused me of not being supportive of her journey. The argument just kept escalating until she stormed out, saying she needed a break from everything, even our marriage. She packed a bag and left. I just stood there in shock as she drove away. Days passed, and I got a text from her saying she was staying with a friend and needed time alone. It felt like a punch in the gut. I just didn't know what to do anymore. So, I decided to dig into our finances. I figured I needed to take control of our savings if I wanted to prepare for the future. I made a budget plan and started working extra hours. I thought maybe it would impress Olivia when she came back. As I was working on that, I found a hidden file on our shared computer. It contained documents about a potential investment Olivia had made without my knowledge. I couldn't believe it. The documents detailed a significant amount of money. She had secretly set aside this money without telling me. It just sparked this new wave of anger and betrayal. I was so furious, I decided to confront her about the hidden funds when she returned. I planned to present my findings calmly, but honestly, I don't even know if I can stay calm anymore. I'm just ready to confront her. I know this next conversation will change everything between us. Edit. The engagement announcement from my sister was completely unexpected. My wife has been in touch with a therapist, which I only learned after our argument. The hidden investment funds were set aside from her paycheck, which she had not disclosed. We share a joint account, but she kept this separate. Am I the idiot for expecting my husband to prioritize my pain over his game? So today, I've been dealing with really bad back pain, like the kind that makes it hard to move at all. I could barely roll over in bed, let alone stand up properly. My boyfriend isn't a gamer, but he's recently gotten into PUBG on his phone and has been playing it a lot. We were in bed, and one of our dogs started whining to go outside. I knew I wasn't in any condition to take them out, so I asked him to let the dogs out when he died in his game. He just kind of brushed me off, so I asked again. It became clear that the dogs weren't going out anytime soon, so I decided to try and get up myself. It took me a solid 5 minutes just to roll over and stand. Every move was agonizing. Meanwhile, my boyfriend stayed glued to his phone, still playing. I finally managed to get the dogs out, but it hurt so badly that I was almost in tears. When I came back in, I asked if we could talk about how the situation made me feel. His response was, "I don't know what there even is to talk about." I explained that it upset me how he knew I was in so much pain but didn't offer to help or put the game down for just a minute. His response was that there's nothing I could have done, and that I was in the middle of a game, I was busy. At one point, he did ask if I wanted pain relief, but I told him no because I knew it wouldn't help the situation. I wasn't expecting him to magically fix my pain. I just needed some practical help with the dogs. I tried to explain that I wasn't expecting him to read my mind. That's why I asked for help in the first place. I just wanted him to understand how it made me feel so that if something similar happens in the future, we could handle it differently. He kept deflecting, saying things like, "Well, you didn't want pain relief, so what else do you want?" Then he said something that really hurt. "Honestly, all you do is whine. You need to toughen up like I do, and like everyone else does." That stung. I know I can complain sometimes, but when I can manage my pain, I do. Tonight was different. It was debilitating, and I genuinely needed help. I told him that when he's in pain, I drop everything to help him and make sure he's okay, and that's the kind of support I'd appreciate in return. He just seemed frustrated, and every time I tried to communicate, it felt like he dismissed or deflected what I was saying. I wasn't trying to blame him, I just wanted to talk about how it made me feel. When we ended the conversation, he said, "I love you and hope you sleep well." But it felt condescending, like something he says to brush off the conversation rather than actually engage with it and to seem like he's the good guy. I'm left feeling really hurt. It didn't feel like he even tried to help because the game was more important to him in that moment. I'm not sure if I'm overreacting, but I just wanted some support, and I feel like I didn't get it. How do I communicate my feelings in a way that actually gets through to him? Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Listen, if he was a good person, he would have taken the dog out and not prioritized his game over it. Your boyfriend is not a good partner. Video games are enjoyable, but the moment they become more important to a person than their real responsibilities, that's not acceptable. You and the dog both needed him in that moment, and he let you down. Comment 2. I have chronic back pain. Well, pain all over my body, and his actions are despicable. I'm sorry, but your relationship is one-sided. These aren't the actions of someone who loves and supports you. Now for the update. A couple of days later, I'm still dealing with this awful back pain, but I reached out to a physical therapist for help. This pain is seriously the worst, and I can't even get out of bed without struggling. The annoying part is that my boyfriend, still glued to his phone, is acting all distant. Like he's just not present, you know? And dinner is just ridiculous. He's still playing PUBG during dinner. Like what? So I figured it was time to address the situation. We got to talk about this, right? It's important for our relationship. So I asked him if we could talk about the whole incident from a few days ago. I was hoping for a real conversation, you know? I bring it up, and he's all like, I'm busy with a new game update. Like, seriously? This is what you prioritize? I'm like, dude, it's really important. I remind him how unsupported I felt. Finally, he puts the phone down, but he's clearly annoyed about it. So, he says he didn't realize I needed help, suggesting we should communicate better. I'm like, really? I've tried talking to you about it, but you always brush me off when I need you the most. Then he goes off, accusing me of being overly dramatic about the pain. Like, excuse me? I always handle pain like a champ, but this time I really needed some support. I suggested a weekend getaway for us to reconnect and clear the air, but he's all hesitant about it. Then he mentions he already made plans with his friends for gaming, which hit me right in the feels. I'm like, really? This is how you're prioritizing things? I remind him how I always cancel my plans to support him when he's unwell. He says gaming is his way of unwinding, and he doesn't see the problem. Later that week, my family gathered for a barbecue at my parents' house. Everyone was there, including my siblings and their partners. It was nice to see everyone and unwind. I shared the whole conflict with my boyfriend lightly, focusing on the need for support and connection. My sister jumped in, mentioning that she's also been having issues with her partner. It felt good to know I wasn't alone in this. My brother suggested a group game night, which could include my boyfriend, but I felt hesitant. I really didn't want to put myself through that again. We decided to invite him anyway, thinking it might help him realize the importance of connection. He agreed to join the game night, but only after he finished a ranking match in PUBG. Of course. On the night of the game night, he showed up late, like really late, missing half of the fun and camaraderie. There was this unexpected moment when he finally arrived, and my family teased him about being late. It was all in good fun, but he just brushed it off with this sarcastic comment that really annoyed me. I tried to engage him in conversation, but he was so distracted, more interested in his phone than anything else. My sister spoke up, asking him why he couldn't put his phone down for one night. He was like, I was just checking scores, which sparked some frustration among the family. I could tell they were uncomfortable with how he was acting too. Later that night, he texted me, asking why we didn't invite him, feeling left out. I told him we needed some time to focus on ourselves and just be with family. He expressed confusion and disappointment, like he just didn't understand why I was upset. I was so done at this point. In the days that followed, he finally agreed to meet in person to talk, acknowledging we needed to address these issues. We met at a local diner, and the atmosphere felt tense, but we knew we had to do this. He admitted he didn't realize how his gaming impacted our relationship and promised to prioritize us more. We agreed to work on our communication and support each other better. We set a plan for regular check-ins to make sure we're both on the same page going forward. I got to admit, I'm feeling a mix of relief and anxiety about where things are headed. Like, I'm glad we talked and he's willing to change, but I'm still kind of skeptical, you know? It's like, can I really trust that this time it'll be different? I'm just hoping this isn't some temporary fix and we'll actually stick to our plan and keep things on track. I really appreciate everyone who gave me advice on this, and I'm not sure if I'll be updating again or not. Mini update. After that talk at the diner, things took a bit of time to settle. He started being more present, and we've been sticking to our check-ins. It's been going well. Am I the idiot for calling out my girlfriend's entitlement when she trashed my alma mater and our relationship? My girlfriend is a non-traditional college student. She completed her associate's degree last spring with a very high GPA and meant to apply to some prestigious schools, but procrastinated on the applications and eventually let them pass by. As a result, she was only admitted to a very high-quality but not very exciting state university as an upper junior with a full scholarship and a small stipend. She was immediately very upset about this outcome. I tried consoling her by telling her that she could always work for a little while and try the next round of applications, but this only seemed to upset her more. She spent the summer mostly depressed, not working, and having daily fits about her choice of school. This strained our relationship considerably, especially since I don't have a high-paying job and had to cover everything until her stipend started, but we made it through. When her classes started in September, things were a little better. She liked her professors and classes and seemed happy to be there. However, she soon fell behind in her language class, and things spiraled back to where they were before. We are back to the daily breakdowns and her cursing me for being lucky for having an education, followed by violent self-loathing that's honestly really hard to hear. We don't even do anything anymore. I come back from work and console her for hours every single day, pretty systematically from 5 to 9, when she regains a bit of serenity and softly chides herself for having wasted the whole afternoon. Entire weekends pass like this too. She says some really horrible things when she gets like this, and isn't particularly consistent either. This weekend, she was complaining that only poor people go to her state school and that she doesn't want to have a network of a bunch of poor people. That both isn't true and is a bit hurtful since I'm an alumnus of that school myself, so when she saw that this got to me, she quickly switched to making an opposite complaint, that everyone else is so lucky to get to waste time thinking about useless things, and that she alone doesn't get to do that and needs to work and is selfish for being in school instead of working. I brought up to her in the midst of this that she seemed unwell and that this was all really getting to me. She was reflective for a minute, saying maybe she needed therapy, but got disgusted at the idea and started spiraling again. Then she started mocking people who go to therapy and making funny therapy voices. In the days since, she's been threatening to drop out again. Then she asks why I seem so distant and tired lately. Honestly, writing this out, it's clear this has gotten a lot worse than I realized. Breaking up isn't an option, though. She truly has nowhere to go back to. She has no money, a horrendously hurtful family, and a particular amount of early trauma in both school and workplaces. I want to support her. I want her to have this degree she's so nearly done with, and I want her to get better. Some spark of the affection in our relationship is still there. I just don't know what to do. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. Breaking up is the only option right now. I know it's tough, but right now you are enabling her self-destructive behavior. It sounds like your whole life is basically about making her feel better about things. She is not going to get help because she is quite satisfied with the status quo. You support her, and she has your undivided attention for basically all of your free time. It's not healthy, and it's not going to get better until she has some true incentive. If she is so dysfunctional that she will completely fall apart if you leave, then she may need to fall apart. Maybe you are the only thing keeping her away from an inpatient hospitalization that is actually necessary for her. Also, you deserve a life, and a partner that does more than just take. Comment 2. Breaking up is always an option. However, if you are dedicated to making this work, I think you really need to sit down and talk to her about how her actions are making you feel. She might think that she's having the worst time of her life and not even realize she's making it harder on you. Honestly, she sounds very mentally distressed and should definitely consider therapy. Accepting therapy is really hard, so that making fun of therapy she is doing could just be her trying to deflect. Also, as I said, breaking up is always an option. You don't need to stay in an hurtful relationship because you're worried about the outcome if you leave them. At the end of the day, you should worry about yourself and your mental health. Now, for the update. I'm back with an update because I know you all want to know how the whole Olivia thing is going. Yeah, it's not great, but what can you do? It's been a little over a month since my last post, and let me tell you, things have taken some unexpected turns. I really thought we'd be on the road to recovery or something, but nope. We're still stuck here in this mess. Olivia has continued to struggle in her language class, which has affected her overall performance. She's always been a bit of a procrastinator, but it's like she took it to a whole new level. Now, she started skipping classes more frequently, claiming she needs these mental health days. I get it, we all need a break sometimes, but this is just another excuse to avoid facing the music. And guess who's been covering her expenses? Yep, your boy right here. It's been putting a serious strain on my finances, and I'm getting tired of it. Like, I have my own bills to pay, you know? Things came to a head after Olivia missed an important assignment deadline for the second time in a row. I lost it. We had a heated argument, and I confronted her about her procrastination. I told her how hard it is for me to support her when she's constantly slacking off. She got all defensive and accused me of not understanding her struggles. Like, excuse me? I'm the one who's been covering your butt this whole time, and you're gonna tell me I don't get it? It only got worse from there. She suggested that she might just drop out entirely. I was done. I told her that if she didn't want to be in school, then maybe she should just go ahead and do it. Anyway, there was this one weekend when we went to a family birthday party for my younger sister. Olivia was already in a mood, and things just went downhill from there. During the party, she made several comments about how other family members were succeeding while she felt stuck. My mom, being the ever-encouraging type, tried to suggest some academic resources to Olivia. You know, like tutoring or study groups. But Olivia snapped at my mom, saying she didn't need advice from someone who went to a regular school. The atmosphere at the party turned super awkward, with family members exchanging concerned glances. After the party, Olivia and I had this long, silent drive home. She insisted that I was embarrassed by her behavior at the party. I mean, can you blame me? A week later, Olivia's college friends invited her to a weekend trip. At first, I was supportive and told her to go have fun, but then she just decided to go without discussing it further, leaving me feeling totally sidelined. During the trip, Olivia posted all these pictures on social media, looking carefree and happy. It honestly made me feel like crap, because here I was, dealing with all this drama, and she was out there, living her best life. When she got back, I tried to talk to her about her social media presence, but she just brushed my concerns aside. We had a family dinner planned for the upcoming holiday, which Olivia agreed to attend. I hoped it would be a good opportunity for her to relax and enjoy some quality family time. But of course, it went south. My older brother mentioned how proud he was of his accomplishments, and Olivia, feeling pressured, made this sarcastic remark about how not everyone can be successful. The tension at the dinner escalated, and family members tried to lighten the mood, but it just wasn't happening. Olivia stormed out of the dinner, saying she didn't want to be there anymore. I followed her outside, trying to understand what was going on. That's when she revealed she was thinking about transferring schools because she felt like she didn't belong. I expressed my concern about the financial implications of transferring, but she brushed it off, saying she'd figure it out if she needed to. We had a serious conversation about the reality of our situation, and that's when she finally dropped the news. She had been considering dropping out for good. I was floored. I can't even begin to explain how upset I was. She accused me of trying to control her life, and we got into this big argument. It was one of those fights that leaves you questioning everything. After the argument, Olivia left for another weekend trip with her friends, leaving me all alone. A few days later, she came back and announced that she had applied to a different school without telling me. She just dropped it on me like it was no big deal. I was like, "Excuse me, you applied to a different school without discussing it with me first?" She got all defensive again, saying it was her education and her life, and she didn't need my approval. It's not that I wanted to control her, but we are living together and we share some expenses, so like a little communication would be nice. After that announcement, I just didn't have the energy to fight anymore. I told her I wasn't happy about the situation, and she said she'd make it work if she got accepted. That's pretty much where we stand now. I'm just trying to get through each day without losing my mind. I honestly don't know what to do anymore. I love her, but I can't keep doing this. Mini update. Olivia received an acceptance letter from the new school a few days after our last conversation. She was ecstatic and immediately started discussing her transfer plans. Despite my reservations about the financial implications, she insisted we could make it work. I'm feeling lost and unsure of my role in this decision. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.